really, he's taller than me now, but I looked at him and immediately we connected. And then there were three more still following. There was Goldie, he was shorter. There was Richard, he was shorter, and then there was Dave.
Hey, that's going out was taller than you.
All right, it's a story. So at that point, I looked over at these three beautiful women and too tall. Saw these three young men and too small. And then I saw Don, and I knew I had a friend for the rest of my life. And we did so. It's been almost 60 years. And he was an incredible friend. Really, he added so much to my life. He made me such a better man. It's just incredible. I really do miss him a lot, and will continue to do so. But I got it close to 60 years out of him. And I'm looking at the program, and I'm seeing a lot of folks that didn't have nearly as much time, but they all called him friends. They also called him grandfather, father, uncle, and the rest of the program is going to be to them. So at this point, I would like to have Sienna come up. Sienna.
Humble and Kind. I don't know if anybody of you guys know that. It's a new song. Grandpa really liked it. Just because he liked to live by the golden rule about staying humble and kind to everybody. And everybody got to sing all these church songs, and this one just fit the best. Grandma every chance that
allowing me to come up here and say a few words today. I'm Tom Vandenberg. Our hospice, the Sarah Care Hospice in Bloomington, had the honor of serving Don, Kim, and his family during these last months of his life. And so she asked me if I would say a few words today, just to honor Don and to remember his life and celebrate it. I do get asked to do these things occasionally, and one of the problems that I often have is I meet people at a point in their life where they're maybe not the same person they were for many of the years that all of you knew them. And so, you know, a lot of times I'll know a lady who is, you know, maybe not the kindest, and she'll be ripping me a new one when they come through the door, and I'll learn that she was the sweetest lady for all of these years. That's not my mom, you know. And yeah, vice versa happens too. But it was the same with Don, actually. I remember him coming to the house, and I met Don one time, and met you one time actually until today.
That is true.
Yes, well, we've talked on the phone many times. And I think Don knew right away that on his bucket list of things to do, spending an hour or two talking to a chaplain probably wasn't going to crack the top 10 too fast. And he had other things that he was itching to do with his time. So we didn't really have a chance to get to know each other. But over the conversations with Kim and just everything I've been hearing through our hospice team, got a little bit of an insight into the great guy he was and how he was there for so many people in many ways. I'm glad in a way that it's this time of year when this is happening. You look outside, just driving down here, you see the leaves changing color. You know, things are coming to that point where they're coming to an end in the seasons. And it's a good reminder that nothing is permanent in this life. We look around, and I think even here today, if we look around even at this building, even the trees outside, there will come a day when none of this is here. It will all be changed. And it'll be dust. And that's part of our life, and that we have to acknowledge. The ancient people even understood that. Some of you have studied ancient philosophy, maybe somewhere you might have come across the name of Heraclitus. He's the guy who said you can't put your foot in the same river twice because you have changed and the river has changed. And change was what he talked about. And the one thing he said about this world is, it ever was, is, and shall be ever-living fire, and measures being kindled and measures going out. Even the ancient people understood that that's part of life. Things come into being, they go out of being. Even all of this around us, one day will be changed, and it won't be here anymore. Every story has an ending, a last word that trails off into silence. Even people like myself who have that Christian faith, the Bible says creation will come to an end someday, and there will be that final time. So we all kind of know that deep down. Heraclitus was right. As he said, nothing is permanent in this world. Things come into being, they go out of being, including even ourselves. When we face that reality, maybe struggle with it, we find that we often ask ourselves a simple question: will I be remembered? Who will remember me? And sometimes we mistakenly believe that it's our accomplishments that will be remembered. We look around our world and we see names on buildings and universities. We see cures for diseases that have somebody's name, and we think that's what really matters in life. That's the accomplishment. But I think what we can all acknowledge here today is it's one thing to be known for something, and another thing to be remembered as someone. My great uncle, according to my mom, was during World War II one of the highest ranking officials, civilian officials in the Department of Defense. He had the highest clearance. He was counsel to the Secretary of Defense. But when she remembered his life, what she remembered was his big hands lifting her up into his arms, the way he talked to her with that gentle voice and laughed, and the way he hugged her warmly. That's what she carried with her for the rest of her life. Not his accomplishments, not that he had this high rank, but it was that relationship. When love is shared, that's what matters. Being remembered is a matter of personal relationship. And we can celebrate that here today. All of you can celebrate that, especially because you knew Don and you knew the person he was. You've all had that relationship with him and shared something intimate and know him for who he is. So, Heraclitus was right, and yet in one sense, he wasn't. The Bible tells us something different that we have to bear in mind as we approach these moments in our lives. The Bible says this. It says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful, or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. But faith, hope, and love, these three things abide, and the greatest of these is love. I think what we've done here today is gathered together to affirm and celebrate that in the midst of all this change in our world and the impermanence of our world, something does endure, and that is love. We've come here today to say that we will remember Don, and that will never change. The love that Don shared with each of you will remain in your memory and will remain in you. It shaped you in a certain way, and that will be shared with others and passed on throughout the ages. And that's how Don lives on through all of you today, all of you gathered here. When we share that love and that love of life that he shared with all of you, when we share the love as he did with the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's how Don will live on through us. That's how he will carry them forward. Now, I know all of you know Don better than I do, but the one thing that I think I know is that he had a motor that wouldn't quit somehow inside him. He had his car had gone a couple 100,000 miles. He was going to make it to 250 no matter what. He was going to do it, and he had that love of life that made him squeeze out every ounce of it as he lived. And no doubt each of you here have memories of what that was for you and how he touched your own life. I hope in the days ahead that you're able to share that with each other. Remind yourselves of that love that he gave you. Let that live on in you. And as we saw in the brochure today that we got, the program, pay it forward. That's what Don would be really honored to know, is that you've taken what he's given you and been able to carry it forward and give it to somebody else and really live out the love that he shared with you. So even though the loss is great, I'm sure Don would want us all to focus on that. He'd want us to remember the good that he did and the love that he shared. He'd want you to remember how he would welcome all people with respect and kindness and how he gave time and energy to so many who needed him. And in the end, Don's love of life is what motivated him to live life to the fullest. That's the Don that will be remembered, I'm sure, and the Don that will always remain. And with that in mind, I'd just like to close with these words. It's a poem that I think Don would approve of. It's called He's Gone by David Harkness. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has done. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love that you share. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Thank you, John. Boy, you guys don't know how hard this is, having somebody as a friend for 60 years and best friend. Trying to keep a straight face and things like that. Next we have a nephew. Justin.
Yes. Well, thank you to everyone for coming today. I know it's staying rolling, and I know we could probably fill this thing 5 times up for that's a little pre-prep. There's one of the slides that's on and for those who don't know me, I'm Justin. I'm his nephew, and Steve Neubauer would probably say, if you don't know me, you're probably better off. You tell him that. It's all about But I would just like to thank everyone so much for coming today. I went over to my cousin's house last night. Yeah, you can laugh all you want. And I saw the photos of Don in the program sitting out on his kitchen table. I said, mind if I look at one? He said, yeah, do whatever you want, it's fine. And I opened it up and said, where's the other speakers? And Jade Fawcett, you're allowed to do whatever you want to them after this, said, you're it. You get it. Did I tell you? No, you neglected that part. You didn't tell me that part.
That's all I have to
That's totally true. That's completely true. So Bella's kind enough to give me this European haircut, and I left his house and I drove around, and I drove around my mom's old place, but she just sold this year. I drove around over to Richie's. I even drove by Jade's place again because that was Donnie's house, and I just looked, and then I drove by my grandma's old place on 84 County Road 42, and all I thought about was all the memories and all the positive things and everything that Don touched in all those homes and everything Don touched in all of our lives. And it was bittersweet. I was bitter because he's gone and I don't get to have him anymore. And it was sweet because I still get to drive around these towns and I get to see what he impacted. And I'm going way over. But I moved here in 1991 August, and my mom was a single mom working 2 jobs, and Don took it on himself to help raise me for whatever reason. And he picked me up one day in his mom's dad. He took me down to Alabama Park, and it's like, oh, he's gonna just rip it. I mean, he's gonna give me the right act, and we just sat down there. He's like, what bird that is? No, pelican? No. And then he described what it was. And we just sat there and we talked. And we talked about nature, we talked about life. And that's all he did. He never laid into me, he never did anything but encourage me. And then we got back in the Mazda, and we went to Sears or Jason Penny, I forget which one, and I had to get shorts for school. And we found shorts on this sale rack, and they fit, and found 2 days later they were women's shorts. Liz Claiborne does not make boy shorts. I wore with pride every time I could, and I'm like, no, it's South California. I wore them, and I don't even know when I got rid of them because I was so proud of them. But yeah, so we did that, and he would take me to all my games. He would always be there for me and just support me no matter what. And the last story was I remember him. I had a game up in St. Paul for soccer, and he drove me home, and he said, "I'm going to take you to the Italian pie shop." I'm like, we've been talking for years. This guy doesn't know me. I don't like cake. I don't like sweets. And turns out Italian pie shop is a pizza place. And ever since that night, I take my family, my daughters, we've all sat there and ate there. And every time I'm there, it's because of Don. And he took the time out of his life, his kid's life, and he was kind enough to share that moment. I just gave me a piece of pizza when I thought I was going to choose between blueberry and apple. It's just tough. I'm so grateful to Kim, Jade, Megan, Noah, all of them for sharing his life. They didn't have to. And I know it took time out of their lives for him to be part of it. And every time when I leave, I always hug them. All my uncles can attest to that, whether they like it or not, I hug them. And I always say I love them. And, I say, I love you, son. And I always loved that. But today I'd like to say, I love you too, Dad. Yeah. I love you. And I miss them. And I thank you all so much for being here to celebrate such an amazing man. Thank you.
So we all, I just want you guys to know, all, well, for the last week at least, could not decide whether we wanted to say anything or not. Because of this. But I really would like to share my story about Dad being my dad. So I'm gonna try really quick. I was little, it was just me and Mom. For many years, just me and Mom. And I liked it that way, just with Mom. I got to sleep with her or whatever, she took me everywhere and did everything. And just recently, Dad was telling me the story about how when I was 3, he came to Mom's apartment and knocked on the door. Apparently I came to the door, and I opened it and I peeked and saw it was him and said, "Go away," and shut the door. And he said, "I knew I liked you right then. You had a spark." Okay. Then Mom decided she was gonna marry him. And I was like, okay, I guess I can deal with that, but do I gotta have a brother too?
I was thrilled to.
baby brother, okay? And every little girl wants a baby brother, right? Not a stinky big brother. So anyways, I was less than thrilled. And I remember the day that the judge asked me, do you want Don to be your dad? And I'm a big guy, and I'm like, yeah, oh yeah. And I remember still thinking like, but can you keep Anyways, we had, our first years as a family were tough. We weren't that nice to each other, or mom and dad, or whatever, and I remember the first time after they got married, mom going out with her friend Pam, and leaving me at home with the boys. I was like, what is this crap? Mom took me everywhere, and now she just gets to leave me home with the boys. Anyways, mom likes to say that we became a family the day that mom and dad got married, and I don't agree with that. I believe that we became a family when this little shit came. And I remember the first Christmas when Noah was a baby, going to Grandma Grace's, and I remember hiding in the basement, waiting to see if somebody would come find me, because everybody's gooing and gone over the new stupid baby, right? Anyways, I fell in love with the stupid baby. We all fell in love with the stupid baby. Because how can you not, right? Everybody that knows Noah loves Noah. And whatever. And I believe that love of this kid is what made us all a family. It did, it cemented us. And that, because you can't not adore Noah. And that really is what made us a family. And I guess I just want to say that the cool part of my story is that my dad chose to be my dad. Even though he came to the door and I said, go away, and I wasn't the easiest child, and he stuck with me every step of the way. He always supported me. He was always. And he never even called me stubborn, which, if you know me, you know I'm stubborn. And he just always said that I was feisty. And I'm so grateful today. He chose to be mine. Go ahead, boys.
Well, the service and luncheon afterwards might be unconventional, but that was, everyone that knew Don was pretty unconventional. And what we've tried to do is think of him throughout this process. It's been about him and what he would want. And we've worked real hard to honor his wishes. I do think it's really fitting that we're in the church that Don got married. And we're celebrating his life here. We're moving to the next chapter in the place where it started. Fun fact, they were the first couple to be married here in 1982. And I want to say something to Mom about the 6-year journey has been really hard. And throughout that journey, you have taken care of him. You honored his special meal requests at 2:30 a.m. You made him snacks. You did whatever he needed to make him comfortable. And the smiling and the laughter that we got to see when we would come visit you guys, and the closeness that you had is really motivating for me and my sister and my brother. And I do want to thank you for upholding your promise to death do you part. That was amazing. Then I look around here and I see so many familiar faces and some new faces, but I can guarantee you, when I talk to you, I'll know about you. My father shared names and people and all the people that made a difference in his life. God has influenced all of us in our own special way. He valued each one of us tremendously and was our go-to person when in times of advice, counseling, support, or just needed to talk. So I put together a few traits, qualities that I use to describe my dad. And I ran out of room on my piece of paper, and everyone probably has something else. But the light in his eye was Christian, Sina, Maddie, Noah, and Ryland. Didn't matter what happened. They would call, text. He learned how to text so he could communicate with them. And he could be having a bad day, and he would spring right up as soon as Marlon got a hold of him. So you guys have to know you were the light of his life. He had character, morals, ethics, loyalty, friendships, son-in-law. He was an advisor, a confidant, at times an instigator, much like his friend.
What?
He was caring, thoughtful, respectful, leader, a role model with a great attitude as he went through his journey with cancer, a devoted husband, an inspiring father, an uncle. You heard how much of an impact he has made on his nieces and nephews, a great uncle. He was an awesome brother to his family, caring, unselfish, a craftsman. He really liked to build things. Thrifty, funny, dedicated, practical jokester again. And I think all of us are better off having been a part of his life. So what he's inspired in me is, he was a thinker. Now it's our time to reflect and think about all that he has taught us. There is so much good that came from his time here on earth, and how a piece of Don lives on in all of us. He lived his life by the golden rule. When I was in high school, I heard it weekly. He made sure I stayed on the right path. As an adult, I realized he knew what he was talking about, and thank him for teaching that value to me. We are a creation of our past experiences and the people that helped mold us. The great thing about knowing and loving Don is he has taught us all. We get to choose what we want to keep with us and do with our lives. His devotion to this rule lives on in his gift of his body to the Mayo Clinic, so people can continue to learn and make better lives for people. He helped us all in our own special way. Thank you for being there for us, Dad, Donnie, Uncle Donnie, Don, Donald. You have many names, probably some that I don't even know. You will be missed but never forgotten. You made a difference in all of our lives, and we will continue to pay it forward.
Well, I've got about 2 minutes to talk. So, I was up last night, finishing up the slideshow, just sitting in my basement, basically feeling sorry for myself. Crying, going through the music that he liked, music we listened to up in the cabin, and brought back a lot of good memories. And then I kind of thought that he would be upset if he knew I was just sitting there moping around, because he wasn't a moper. He was the toughest guy I've ever met. I mean, he was literally dying when he had to leave North Dakota when he was helping Dave out of this pole barn, and most people would have probably left when they felt bad or whatever, but he waited until he was completely unfunctional. And that's just how he was. He didn't really care what he was going through, if he could help someone. And that's like what Justin said, he thanked us for taking time out of our lives, but it was so awesome to see the impact that he made on everyone else. And if he was doing something, he was helping someone. That was the only thing that he ever did. Whether it was me calling him, asking him how to cook a duck, or how do I build this? What should I do with this? How do I do wiring? My dog's dying. He was the person I called when I needed help for anything. He was what people had before Google was around. It's just so nice to see the impact that he had on everyone. Even if it wasn't him that I called, I was able to called Megan or Jade or whoever it was, and know that part of what they would tell me was because of lessons that he taught them. So I'm gonna miss him a whole lot, and it sucks. And he was an amazing dad and an amazing friend, and he was my best man at my wedding. And I love him.
Now for a little bit of a remembrance. Don, Hans Christian Paulson. I, Dan Paul Donald Neubauer, cherish the time I spent with you. I miss you, and I love you. Please join the family, just not too far from here at Carboni's, and let's remember the good stuff. Thank you for coming. Good job, Dave.